You see Tarik Oguzlu in your screen, a professor of international relations at Istanbul Aydin University. Thank you so much for your time, Tarik. If there were to be some kind of Turkish military action against terror targets in Iraq after this warning, how different might they be to previous similar actions Turkey has taken?
Actually, I'm not of the view that any potential Turkish incursion in the northern Iraqi region in such a way to follow up with this warnings on the part of Turkish president will be quite different from the ones Turkey has already organized in the past. So most likely PKK holdouts in northern Iraq will be targeted by Turkish army and also Air Force. But maybe Turkish army would pinpoint some specific targets in the Süleymaniye region to give a much more open warning to Süleymaniye authorities, PUK authorities, in such a way to ask them to finish their support to PKK facilities and PKK presence in the region. But we should not forget the fact that what we have been observing these days is quite similar to what we had observed in the past as well. Even during the 1990s, Turkey had closely cooperated with KDP circles in Doğuk region, but Turkey had very frosty relations with Süleymaniye Kurdish groups in the past. So nothing has changed in this particular sense. The Kurds of northern Iraq are somehow divided into two specific groups, whereas the KDP seems to be quite in close cooperation with Turkey, whereas the ones in Süleymaniye have already established very close relationship with PKK. So I think nothing has changed in the last 2 decades in this particular context, and I'm not of the view that any radical development will take the case in the days to come. But there is one specific factor we have to take into account, which is that Turkish government in Ankara has intensified its dialogue with central administration in Baghdad. And in addition to its ongoing cooperative relationship with Barzani party in northern Iraq, based in Doğuk, this is something quite new. And if Turkey had further intensified its cooperation with Baghdad and Doğuk, this will put additional stress on Süleymaniye authorities to cease maybe their support to PKK. So we have to wait and see. This is a very early moment at this particular moment. So, but the point is that Turkey has begun intensifying its pressure on such circles based in Süleymaniye. We don't no longer have any kind of tolerance with the presence of the PKK authorities in the region. So yeah, this is one of the red lines of Turkish government, you know it.
Yeah, Tarik, I wanted to ask you about something you've just kind of hinted at, about Turkey's leverage in that part of the world. Where does that leverage come from if there's not going to be any sort of radical action, as you call it? Where can Turkey find the room for maneuver to try to persuade certain elements to at least make sure that Turkey's national security is not compromised?
I think there are some particular factors which appear to have increased, quote-unquote, Turkey's leverage or bargaining power vis-a-vis these Kurdish groups in Süleymaniye. One is that the changing dynamics in the Middle Eastern region seems to create a kind of strategic rapprochement in recent days between the United States on the one hand and Turkey on the other hand. This is something quite important because, after all, whenever you organize any military action in the region, you have to get a tacit, approval from the Americans. So this is very much important. The second factor is that Turkey has already, as I told you before, intensified its relations with Barzani movements and also the central government in Baghdad. We also know that high-level Turkish authorities have paid very important visits to Baghdad in recent weeks. So which seems that Turkey has been trying to coordinate its actions with the central government in Baghdad. This is very much important. This also signals that Turkey is in favor of Iraq's territorial integrity. And maybe finally, Turkish Air Force capability, its sophisticated drone capability, air power capability, seems to offer Turkey further leverage in its emboldenment in the context of organizing such kind of military actions in the region. This is also quite important because Turkey has developed this capacity to hit targets in the region without putting troops on the ground. So this is also quite important.
Very important. Tarik Oguzlu, Professor, thank you so much indeed.